happening? How you doing? Happy Monday to you. It is Monday, January 17th, 2022. I'm so glad that you're here for the Monday Morning Get Up Show, this show where we spend about 15 minutes or so giving you a little bit of inspiration and motivation. Get up and go for your week. So I'm glad that you're here with us. If you want to make sure that you never miss a Get Up show, do me a favor. Text 410-936-4049, 410-936-4049, and we'll make sure that you get notified when the Get Up show is live on Monday morning. Today, if you are in the United States, today is Martin Luther King Day. Today is a holiday for a lot of schools, a lot of organizations, etc. And today is a holiday. And so I want to make sure that we address and pay attention to, or give homage a little bit to Martin Luther King for today, because there's some things that I didn't really understand about what he did and the sacrifices that he made. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that this morning. But before we do, we have something fantastic coming up in February, and I want to make sure that you're a part of it. All right. If you want to be a part of it, we've got a summit that's coming up. And by the time we do this show next week, we'll share a little bit more about this summit. But if you want to be a part of it, do me a favor, text story to stage, one word, no spaces, story to stage to 410-936-4049. 410-936-4049. Text the word story to stage. If you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, you can go ahead. There's a QR code on screen here as well that you can just use your phone camera to do the thingy, and it will populate. All right. So yeah, you can do that so you don't have to remember the number. Anyway, hey, how you doing this morning? Cafferton, Roshgan Valley, yeah, a lot of people on Instagram as well. Yeah, waving to you all this morning. So let's jump into our quote this morning. So our quote for the day is from Martin Luther King, and it says, "We must build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. The old law that's about an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. The time is always right to do the right thing. Peace is merely a distant goal we seek, but a means. Peace is not merely, I missed a word in there. Peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but also a means by which we arrive at that goal." Wow. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second. We must build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. Let's talk about fear for just a second. I didn't realize the sacrifice that Martin Luther King Jr. made until I had a family. Right? We hear stories, and he was killed before I was born. So I heard the stories, and I hear the stories, and you kind of read these stories about people who speak and people who do these great things that change the world, and you're like, yay, they did it. And if you had the opportunity to do it, you would do it too, right? But there's this thing that a lot of us don't really understand, and it was when I had children. I've got 3 children. I've got a daughter and 2 sons. And it was when I had children that I began to recognize the sacrifice that he made. So he made several sacrifices. He made the sacrifice of constantly being away from his family, speaking, protesting, doing all these things. He constantly was away from his family, and that can be a big deal, right? I know for me, when my sons have basketball games, I want to be at their basketball games. When my daughter played volleyball, I want to be at her volleyball games. Right? When my daughter was on the cheerleading team, I wanted to be at the basketball games that she was cheering at because she's my daughter, because I wanted to do things or be around at things that they were involved in. And so I can only imagine the sacrifice that it takes, or that it took, to want to be available for some of the things that your children were doing and dealing with, but being connected also to this greater burden. Wow. Right? So there's the fear piece of it. But there was also this other thing where he lived in uncertainty, not knowing what the next day would hold. He knew that the message that he was giving was an explosive message, a message that wasn't that a lot of people weren't in agreement with. He knew that the message that he was giving was going to be something that would cause tension and may even result in his death. So living in a world or living in a space where you wake up and you don't know if you're going to be bombed that day. Right. So his family, they had fire bombs, they had Molotov cocktails, they had stuff thrown at their house all the time. So living in a space where you don't know whether that's the day that you're going to be bombed or somebody's going to try to enact some measure of, I don't even want to say revenge. It's not revenge. It's just violence. Somebody's going to enact violence against you. Living in that space, waking up, you don't know if you're going to get shot. You don't know if something's going to happen. You don't know, because Martin Luther King, while he was around a lot of people, he wasn't around. He didn't have like Secret Service and bodyguards in that way. Right? He didn't have all of those things. So he constantly lived in danger and uncertainty. How many of us really could live life living in uncertainty? And I asked that question because we're in this space right now. We're in this space where the world is experiencing COVID, and COVID, with that comes a lot of chaos and uncertainty. And in that chaos and uncertainty, in just this little bit of time, in just this past 2 years, people have lost their minds. Some people have. Everybody feels like not everybody. I shouldn't speak in generalities like that, but a lot of people feel like our rights are being trampled, or our worlds are being taken away from us, and we want to get back to normal. We want to get back to normal. But what is normal? What is normal? Normal is no more. Normal is not something that exists. All right, on this even playing field. It's not on this continuum. We create normal. We create what is normal, and that is either by agreement of a greater society or by individual choice. We create what is normal. So we are in this space where we've got this thing, this virus, this thing that's mutated, this thing that we're having to deal with, and we are going to have to create normal out of that, right? And so we're living in uncertainty, and because we live in uncertainty, a lot of people live with fear. A lot of people live with fear, and we envy, or we listen to people that say, yeah, you've got to be fearless. You've got to live without fear. But here's the thing about fear. Fear isn't something that we eradicate or erase. It's a necessary element that we can use to our advantage when we use it as fuel for our courage. I'll say that once more. Fear isn't something that we eradicate. It's a necessary element which we can use to our advantage when we use it as fuel for our courage. What do I mean by that? Well, we've got fear built into us, right? We step onto the street and the bus is coming. Ooh, there's fear, right? I need to make a decision really quickly. My body, my mind, my hormones say, hey, fight or flight. Hey, you need to deal with that thing. So there's some fear built into us, but we've also kind of we've built that up into something larger as a way, as a part of the way we go through our day. We're either afraid of things or we are comfortable with things. So if I'm afraid, or if there's fear in my day, I can choose to either back away from it, retreat into my comfort space, or I can choose courage. I can choose courage. And courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is simply the ability or the willingness or the choice to move forward in spite of fear. If you think about warriors on a battlefield, they don't go onto the battlefield without fear. They choose to reframe what is inside of them or the feelings that they're having into courage, saying, hey, I've got to accomplish this thing. And here's the trick to this, or here is the secret to this. In order to really grab onto courage, you must have a desire that outweighs the fear. In order to really grab onto courage, you've got to have something bigger that you're reaching towards in order for you to decide to act on that courage. Right? So in this world of chaos, in this world of uncertainty, here's how we've got to operate. You've got to figure out what it is that you're after. What is that greater goal? What is that mission? What is that thing that you desire so deeply that you're willing to sacrifice, that you're willing to take some steps, that you're willing to put yourself in danger, that you're willing to push through uncertainty in order to get after it? For Martin Luther King, that thing was equality. For Martin Luther King, that thing was justice for his people. And yes, he made some sacrifices in the short term, or he made some sacrifices in terms of his family. And he was a man. He was a human being. He wasn't perfect. He was flawed, as we all are. But one thing that was undeniable was that there was a goal. There was a singular purpose. There was a focus. There was something that he was after that allowed him to access courage daily. So the question for you and the question for me is, what is that thing that I'm after that allows me to access courage daily? Because here's the thing. When you know what you're after, you embrace uncertainty because you realize that you may simply be forging new ground. When you know what you're after, you embrace uncertainty because you simply might be forging new ground. A lot of us are looking for models. We're looking for a blueprint. We're looking for something that has been done before, or a way it's been done before, so that we know how to go forward in a more comfortable way. And so we're constantly seeking comfort. But when you really know what you're after, when you've got this burning desire, when you've got this burning goal, you embrace uncertainty because you realize that you may be pioneering. You may be forming or forging something that has never been done before, or that other people have started the process on but only gotten to a certain level. And now it's your job, it's your desire, it's your goal, it's your focus to move to the next level on that thing. So we've got to know what we're after. We've got to ask ourselves that question. I ask you today on this Martin Luther King Day in the United States, what are you after? What is burning so deeply inside of you? And maybe you don't know yet. Maybe you've lived a comfortable life. Maybe you've lived, for the most part, in certainty. Maybe you haven't been challenged. But we all have a challenge, or we have challenges at some point. So I've got to ask myself the question, even if it's not something that I'm after for myself, is there something that affects my community? Is there something that affects my family? Is there something that affects a group of people that I care about and love, that I can grab onto? Because at some point, we all come face to face with the choice where we will need to either choose to exhibit courage or retreat back into the safety of our comfort zones. And when that moment comes, what are you going to choose? What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose comfort or are you going to choose courage? I'm asking this question out loud, but I'm not pointing fingers because I have to ask myself that question daily. Today, as I open up my day, as I start my day, am I going to choose comfort or am I going to choose courage? If I start my day and I look at the list of things that I've got to do and there's nothing on my list that requires a hard decision, then maybe it's time for me to recast or take another look at my day, because if I never have to make any difficult decisions, then maybe I'm not growing. Maybe I don't have something that I'm after. Maybe I don't have a burning desire. Maybe I don't have a dream or a goal. But if I do have a dream, if I do have a goal, and Martin Luther King, you talk about the dream, right? He had a dream. If I do have a dream or a goal, then I'm going to be confronted with the decision. Do I want to embrace comfort or do I want to embrace courage? What are you going to embrace this week? That's my question. That's my question for you and for me. We must build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. The old law about an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. The time is always right to do the right thing. And peace is not merely a distant goal, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. Martin Luther King Jr. Listen, y'all, have an exciting day. Celebrate your day and think during your day and during your week, am I going to embrace comfort or am I going to choose courage today? All right, y'all, have a fantastic rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of your day and make sure that you do something courageous. I'll see y'all on the next episode of, well, it's not an episode. Yeah. I'll see y'all next Monday. I'll see you next Monday for another episode of the Monday Morning Get Up Show. All right, y'all. Peace. Make sure you hit the QR code. Make sure you send a text, story to stage, 410-936-4049. I'll see you.